I never imagined a simple walk could uncover the truth. The door to my neighbor's house was slightly open. Something felt wrong. I stepped closer, heart racing, as shadows moved inside. I wanted to look away, but curiosity was stronger. That moment would change everything I believed about the people next door. My name is Daniel Harper. I am 38 years old. I work as a civil engineer in Chicago. I live alone, enjoying quiet evenings and long walks in my neighborhood. My neighbors, the Wilsons, seemed ordinary. Friendly smiles, polite hellos, but something always felt slightly off. Small inconsistencies in their stories. Doors left open for no reason. The youngest, a boy named Luke, often stared at me strangely. That Saturday, I went for my usual morning walk. Sun was warm, birds were chirping. Yet, my mind could not stop thinking about the Wilsons. Their house had always been tidy, impeccable lawns. But now, the front door was slightly ajar. I froze. It should not have been open. My instincts screamed that something was wrong. I crept closer, pretending to admire their garden. Peeking through the gap, I saw a flicker of movement. Shadows shifted unnaturally. A box slid across the floor. I could hear a faint murmur, voices hushed. My curiosity overwhelmed my caution. I had no idea what I was about to discover, and how it would change my life forever. That morning, I returned home with an uneasy feeling. I could not shake the image of the box sliding across the floor. I kept replaying it in my mind, wondering what it could contain. I tried to focus on work, but emails and blueprints blurred into one. My thoughts wandered back to the Wilsons and the secret I might have glimpsed. Over the next few days, I watched their house carefully. Every morning, I saw the box move from one room to another. Sometimes the lights flickered even when no one seemed inside. My suspicion grew. I began noting the times I saw unusual activity. My hands shook as I wrote. I felt I was on the edge of uncovering something monumental. One evening, I noticed Mr. Wilson leaving the house with a large envelope. He glanced around nervously, then quickly locked the door behind him. I followed discreetly, maintaining distance. He walked to a small storage unit 2 blocks away. The padlock clicked open, and he placed the envelope inside. My heart raced. What was inside that envelope? Why the secrecy? My curiosity became unbearable. I knew I needed a plan. I could not confront them directly. It was too risky. I began studying their routines meticulously. Times of leaving, arrival, what lights stayed on, which windows were open. I learned the neighborhood patterns. I discovered when no one was likely to notice me. Each detail added to a growing strategy, a subtle revenge plan for any wrongdoing they were hiding. Finally, one quiet night, I decided to act. I slipped through the side fence, careful not to make a sound. The backyard was dark, shadows stretched across the lawn. I reached the small shed at the back. My hand trembled as I touched the lock. The secrets inside were about to be revealed, and I was unprepared for the truth I would see next. The shed door creaked as I pushed it open, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. My eyes landed on a stack of boxes, carefully labeled with dates and names. My heart pounded. I stepped closer, each movement deliberate, trying not to make a sound. I lifted the top box. Papers spilled across the floor. Bills, letters, photographs, and something far more alarming. Among the documents, I found a series of photographs. They showed the Wilsons meeting with people I did not recognize. Men and women in suits, secretive expressions, always with the same envelope I had seen Mr. Wilson carry. I frowned. This was not just normal secrecy. This was something else, something calculated. I crouched, examining a folder labeled Financial Records. The numbers did not make sense at first. Then I noticed patterns, transactions disappearing, accounts transferring, subtle manipulations. The Wilsons were hiding more than I had imagined. I felt a mix of fear and fascination. How could people live next door, pretending to be ordinary, while hiding something so dangerous? I decided to watch them more closely. I returned home and set up a small notebook, noting every detail of their day. Every phone call, every visitor, every small slip of attention. I began predicting their movements with uncanny precision. My obsession grew, but so did a strange satisfaction. I felt in control while they remained unaware of my knowledge. Over the next week, I carefully planted small doubts. I left hints for neighbors, subtle remarks in casual conversation. I saw something strange near the Wilsons' house, I said, just loud enough to be overheard. Faces turned toward them. Questions arose. The Wilsons began to notice that people were watching, that whispers followed them. I smiled quietly. My silent strategy was working. I observed their interactions at community events. The confidence they carried began to falter. A slip of a hand, a nervous glance, these were signs of unease. I kept my distance but pushed the tension just enough. I never spoke directly, never accused. I let the suspense build, the anticipation grow. Each day, my revenge plan took a clearer shape. I wanted them to feel exposed without knowing why. One evening, I overheard Mr. Wilson on the phone. His voice was sharp, almost panicked. "Did anyone see?" he asked. Everything must be handled quietly. I felt a cold satisfaction. The web they had built was unraveling, slowly, piece by piece. I knew I had the power to reveal the secret at the right moment. Timing was everything. But the more I learned, the more careful I had to be. They had no idea I was aware, yet I had to stay cautious. I could not rush. Any misstep would ruin everything. I continued following their schedules, noting small details. When lights flickered, when doors were unlocked, when envelopes were exchanged. Every tiny clue was a step toward the turning point I had planned. Then, one rainy night, I discovered something that shocked me completely. A hidden drawer under Mr. Wilson's desk. Inside were letters, clearly meant to stay secret, detailing actions that could destroy reputations and possibly ruin lives. I read them slowly, letting the weight of each word sink in. I realized the full scope of their deception, and the perfect moment for my silent revenge approached. As I left the house, my mind raced. Patience had brought me this far, but the climax was near. I knew that soon, every hidden truth would surface, and the Wilsons would have no defense. The suspense was unbearable for them and for me. Every plan I had made, every observation, led to this point, and when the moment came, the consequences would be undeniable. The breaking point came sooner than I expected. It was a quiet Thursday evening. Rain tapped softly against my window. The street outside was empty. No cars, no voices, just silence, the kind that makes your thoughts louder. I sat at my desk, staring at the letters I had copied from the hidden drawer. Every word felt heavy. These are not just secrets. These were calculated actions, carefully planned lies. Lives quietly manipulated behind closed doors. I realized then I could not stay silent any longer. But I would not confront them. Not directly. That would give them control. I wanted the truth to speak for itself. I wanted consequences to arrive, without warning, the way their actions had affected others. I waited. That weekend, the neighborhood held its annual community meeting. Everyone would be there. Families, retirees, local officials. Even the Wilsons had confirmed attendance. Perfect timing. I prepared carefully. I organized the documents. Financial records, letters, photographs, everything copied and secured. I did not exaggerate. I did not add opinions. I only let facts remain. Clean, clear, undeniable. As the meeting began, I sat quietly near the back. Mr. Wilson stood confidently near the front. He smiled. He joked. He looked relaxed, unaware that his world was about to crack. The meeting moved slowly. Budget discussion. Neighborhood maintenance. Then came the open floor. I stood up. The room went quiet. My voice felt steady, calmer than I expected. I found something that affects all of us, I said. No acquiescence. No anger. Just truth. I handed copies to the community board. I explained how I discovered irregularities. I spoke slowly, carefully. Each sentence landed like a weight on the room. Mr. Wilson's smile faded. His face drained of color. He tried to interrupt, but the board raised a hand. They asked him to wait. I continued. I showed the transaction patterns, the hidden accounts, the letters revealing influence and manipulation. The photographs confirmed meetings that had never been disclosed. Murmurs filled the room. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Mrs. Wilson sat frozen. Luke stared at the floor. The board asked questions. Mr. Wilson struggled to answer. His words tangled. His calm confidence collapsed into nervous explanations. The more he spoke, the clearer his guilt became. The tension was unbearable. Then someone else stood up. A neighbor. Then another. They shared their own strange experiences. Lost paperwork. Denied permits. Unexplained decisions. The pieces fell into place, forming a picture no one could ignore. The board ended the meeting early. They announced an immediate review. Authorities would be contacted. All related matters would be investigated. The Wilsons were asked to leave quietly. As I walked out, no one spoke. No one stopped them. I did not feel victory. I felt relief. But the climax was not over. Later that night, I heard knocking at my door. Slow. Heavy. I knew who it was before I opened it. Mr. Wilson stood there. His shoulders slumped. His voice was low. "You ruined everything," he said. I looked at him calmly. "No, Evobia. Your actions did." He stared at me, searching for anger, for satisfaction. He found neither. Only certainty. He turned and walked away, defeated, exposed, and powerless. The following days moved fast. Investigations began. News spread quietly. Accounts were frozen. Positions suspended. The Wilson house went dark. Curtains drawn. Cars gone. Neighbors avoided the house. Some avoided me too, unsure how to react. Others nodded respectfully. A few thanked me quietly. I returned to my routines. Work, walks, silence. Yet something had changed. I had crossed a line, not into revenge, but into responsibility. I understood now how easily truth can hide in plain sight, how silence protects the wrong people. One evening, as I walked past the Wilson house, I noticed the door open again, but this time it felt different. Empty, hollow, no secrets left. Inside, I paused, wondering what the final consequences would be. Because even though the truth was out, the aftermath had only just begun. After the meeting, the neighborhood slowly returned to normal, but nothing was the same. The Wilsons were gone. Their house remained empty, a quiet reminder of what had happened. Conversations between neighbors were quieter, more cautious, everyone aware of the secrets that could hide behind polite smiles. I returned to my life. Work continued. Walks continued. Yet, I felt different, more aware of how easily people can hide truths and how important it is to pay attention. I had acted not out of anger, but out of responsibility. I realized that silence can sometimes protect the wrong people, and that courage to act carefully and thoughtfully can make a difference. I did not feel pride in the exposure. It was not about punishment. It was about justice and fairness. Seeing the Wilsons' reactions, their quiet retreat from the neighborhood, I understood how deeply deception affects everyone, even those who are not directly involved. The impact of truth is greater than imagined. I kept in touch with a few neighbors who quietly thanked me. Their gratitude was simple, a nod, a brief conversation, or a smile. It reminded me that doing what is right does not always require recognition. Some lessons are meant to be felt rather than applauded. Most importantly, I learned to trust my instincts and to observe the small signs that often go unnoticed. People's actions speak louder than words. Secrets, no matter how well hidden, eventually surface. And when they do, the consequences are unavoidable. So, if you notice something unusual, do not ignore it. Listen carefully, watch closely, and remember, truth has a way of finding the light, even when it is buried in darkness. What would you do if you discovered a secret like this? How far would you go to ensure the right thing happens?